All right, Second Chronicles 7. Let's call this one For Now. As a matter of fact, let's entitle this week's set of lessons For Now, but subtitle this one, Chapter 7, Platform, because we are going to get to see God warn Solomon about the advantages and disadvantages of having a huge public platform. But it's going to start out by basically dovetailing off of the end of chapter 6, where Solomon offered up his prayer of dedication for the newly built temple. We're going to see early on, God is going to give him a quick and demonstrative endorsement, demonstrative being a big word for basically just giving him a huge vote of confidence with fire from heaven to take up the offering. And it is going to be so demonstrative that it's actually going to scare the people of Israel with how enthusiastically God endorses Solomon's prayer. And so it's going to scare them, but they're going to forge ahead and offer more sacrifices. And it's going to say they're going to offer so many sacrifices that the altar at the courtyard of this newly built temple is not going to be able to hold all of the sacrifices. So Solomon is going to consecrate additional spaces for the sacrifices that are going to be offered up for a feast that he is going to throw for 7 days. And in addition to that feast for 7 days, he's going to have a 7-day period of dedication for that new altar. And all total, they're going to spend about 23 days together before he dismisses them on the 23rd day. And after all of that, it's going to say that Solomon accomplished all of the things that he set his heart to do. And eventually, sometime after, is going to lead into a very famous passage of scripture that shows God coming to Solomon personally and privately at night, letting him know that he will put his endorsement and his name on this place for now. But that famous passage of scripture begins right around verse 14, where it says, "If my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and heal their land." And that is a passage that is often used when people are trying to call the nation that they're in, typically here in America. This is a passage that for Christians is one that is still used to this day to call us to turn back to God so that he can clear up some of the things or the questions that seem so confusing to us. But for now, what God is doing is introducing Solomon to a time of personal reflection where he can say, you're going to have a huge platform, as I promised your father, if you continue to walk in his ways. And he's going to say, if you do, you don't have to be perfect. Why? Because when he's talking about this seeking and turning, you don't have to seek and turn if you're doing everything right. And so he's saying you don't have to be an example of perfection, but you do need to be an example of how you can turn back to God for help at times when you have fallen short of reaching your potential. And he's going to say you can still be a success in those two ways, either just being excellent or getting back to the path of excellence. But if you do not self-correct and you linger in a path that begins to make your example on this very public platform sketchy, then God is going to help correct for you. And one of the reasons I thought that was so huge is it's so similar to the warning that Paul gives in the book of Colossians when he talks about the danger of obscurity. See, this whole thing of true and false gods isn't simply which team are you cheering for, because the respective gods came with a set of respective habits. And the consistent thing between God's warning to Solomon and Paul's warning to us is that there is a danger in mixing moral obscurity with a huge public platform, which is an issue that the NBA, the National Basketball Association, is wrestling with right now as one of its major franchises, the Memphis Grizzlies, are struggling with whether or not they are going to be able to continue to give their star, Ja Morant, the platform that he has enjoyed to this point, because they have serious concerns about the moral obscurity he has been displaying on that very public platform. And whether you think Ja Morant is right or wrong in the way he is using his public platform, it goes back to what we are seeing here in 2 Chronicles chapter 7, where God is saying that he has room for excellence on his platform. He has room even to show you mercy when you fall short of excellence on his public platform, but there is no room for a prolonged period of using his public platform to display moral obscurity, something that Solomon will demonstrate through most of his reign, but we're going to see in the next few chapters how his sons are going to struggle to understand as we look at the ways in which God has promised to put his name on the temple for now.